俺はルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。
It's a great day here at Kekfilet's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kekfilet, and today my video is the good things about Season of Discovery, as we're calling it, SoD, the fresh green SoD that we all know and love of Classic. And actually just want to talk about exactly the good things about Season of Discovery and kind of my opinion. And by the way, I'll have a follow-up video of the bad things about Season of Discovery. With that, make sure you guys leave in the comments the bad things about Season of Discovery so we can go over those maybe in the next video, and I'll talk about that more at the end of the video. But without further ado, let's get into the goo. First thing, I feel like this game is super fresh. It's like World of Warcraft 2. It's the exact same game, but all of a sudden, I am farming things I never would have farmed. And it would be efficient if I would group with people. I'm out here farming fish oil, with my buddy. It was like on day 3 or 4, and really just having a good time doing it and farming leather, heavy stone, just trying to get as much gold as possible early on so we can live comfortably in the first few levels and getting those consumes together, because things were really expensive early on. I feel really early on in the games, and also whenever probably any new phase comes out. Any new fresh phase, this feels very active and super fun. Right now, there are a ton of people playing during Christmas time because people have time off. However, there are some downsides to that, but the game's starting to feel a little stale unless you do something else, which is it's very alt-friendly. This game feels super alt-friendly. I feel super incentivized also just to play different classes and kind of learn what their runes are doing. I'm not full discovering. I am looking up those guides, but I am having fun with the abilities. I have played a lot of WoW. If you're a WoW veteran, you have probably played these classes before leveling up at least to, a decent level. And the power impact of some of these runes have been super powerful and just super neat to see that. It's not that aggravating to level up right now. It's actually super easy, and there's a lot of conveniences on a very popular server, especially summons. Especially if you can afford those summons, you can get a summon to, let's say, South Shore or to Darnassus, so you can level up a little bit easier, and that's great. And that actually leads me to my third thing: is the new runes feel very powerful. Again, it's a big impact right when you get them. And I love that when you get a rune, you kind of just want to use it to see what happens. There are some runes you just kind of get, and there are more powerful ones than other ones, especially if you're trying to go a certain spec. And that's really the great thing about them. Obviously, some have some downsides, but that's actually another great thing is actually number 4, that they have a balance team on this Microsoft Blizzard. They are trying to balance. I do want to say, I don't really know who's actually testing these. It's like they're just putting in numbers and hoping it works out. That actually testing, you can kind of tell from the hunter numbers that there really wasn't much testing done ever. And I don't even know if there is still any testing done because of how highly powered they are. And honestly, I am glad that they are at least doing something every few days. And you're kind of like hoping, oh, maybe my stuff will get buffed. Maybe it'll get nerfed in a few days, and seeing how that goes. And it does, in fact, a lot of PvP in a lot of ways, but that would say very personally that the strength of runes is very powerful, and the balancing of them can be very impactful. I don't think there's been any too impactful negative ones unless you're a hunter, but you had it too good for too long. So with that, the next thing I'd love to say is number 5, the new raid, without any spoilers or prep, was actually very fun and challenging for the week 1 progress. And I'm really glad we got to raid something like BFD. I actually never did BFD until I did hardcore, and I played a lot of WoW. And so when it came to BFD, I didn't really know what I was going to get into with the dungeon. and paying attention with things like that. So lore-wise, it feels really fresh. And going into next phase, Nomergon's going to feel the same way. We're going to feel that same fresh of a new instance almost, even though it's been there. But have you really looked through Nomergon? Like, you haven't spent as much time as there you has Molten Core. Molten Core, everyone knows Molten Core, right? But Nomergon, I feel like it's very unexplored, and that's super great. And I do want to add a bit of a wish list, is that I think a lot of people have this opinion that making more than just a 10-man. People do want a 40-man, but they have to make it really epic to make it a 40-man, something just way too large. And maybe that doesn't fit in just right. There would be something cool. It would be really great if we can have actual 40-man content in the game. However, this 10-man content is great. Hopefully they make it still impactful, and I hope they increase the difficulty level as well going into Nomergon, considering that was kind of an intro to BFD, and I don't know how that would be with Nomergon, but I essentially just want things to die. Just to give you an example, I think some fights should have a DPS check. Some fights need to be a mechanic, like don't stand in the shadow, and you actually get punished, not just a little bit of damage, but you get punished with a death really quick. And I think absolutely the bosses need to hit harder. If you pull thread on a boss, you can take a damage hit or a few or the whole mechanic and die, and not even die. So realistically, I think that bosses need to hit a bit harder to actually making tanking feel impactful. But other than that, I'm glad that these new raids are here, and they can be fun and challenging with no spoilers and very little prep. Next I have is actually the impact of a new item. Feels great, and I'm happy that in Season of Discovery that they have that. But the great thing is, when you get to these raids and the difference between these items and BOE auction house blues or greens even, the impact doesn't feel that different, so people don't get bent out of shape. And the great thing is that it's phased, so you know we're going to get a better loot in like a month or so. So if you lose on the loot, you know it's not going to impact you in like 6 months from now, that essentially you won't even remember that you lost that roll. And obviously it doesn't feel great to lose rolls, but people don't get bent out of shape as much as they're used to. And if they do, maybe you shouldn't be playing with them. But that's what I like right now. And the next thing I really love about Season of Discovery is obtaining and farming gold feels like it should. It's a chore, but it's rewarding. And these are completely new farms. I feel like completely new farms that have never really been explored to their maximum at these low levels feels really great. Obviously, there are some downsides, and we can go over all of those in the next video with the bad things about Season of Discovery. Obviously, you know, things like bots and just over farming, and some characters are just way too strong at farming compared to others, hunters, and you know, you wish there was somewhat of a balance with that to fix that. But as far as that goes, hopefully they listen to that. Maybe they listen to this video, and especially the next video, the bad things about Season Discovery. I do want to put a lot of points in there when we do that one, and especially some of the balancing. If I was to choose one thing right now for me, I wish that things like ranged attacks, hunters specifically, bows, maybe even warrior bows or rogue bows if you're, you know, being really particular, I wish that had a glancing effect. They should be able to miss a lot more. They shouldn't be able to do that much damage. It's a little too strong. It's a little broken for people farming that can farm things above 5+ levels above them, and it kind of ruins a lot of your class fantasy. When you're playing any other class, you just can't do what that guy's doing because of one ranged mechanic. But that isn't a big deal. But again, make sure you ladies let me know in the comments the bad things about Season of Discovery so we can talk about in the next video. And if you haven't already, thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing to your professional yabber. And I'm going to see you all in the next video. Ciao.